Hey y'all, it's Betsy from Cuttin Corners Vinyl, and today I have a fun video for you. I'm going to go over the reasons why I will never convert a printer to dye sublimation again. Now, before I jump into this, I want to make sure that you understand this is no tea, no shade to those of you who have done it and love it. This is my personal experience and why I won't do it. You know, I'm kind of old school. I've been in this game for a long time. Now, before I jump into this, if you see any weird cuts, any weird edits in this, I have 3 dogs in this room with me, and it is tiny. 2 of them are puppies. They are big. They are rambunctious. So, that's part of it. I also have epilepsy. I have a script written out because I have worked on these thoughts for a little bit, and I stumble over my words because of my medication. Sometimes you might see me shake, or you might see me kind of go off on a tangent. So if you see any weird cuts, any weird edits, or you notice anything strange, please be patient and please understand that that's where it's coming from. I try to give disclaimers at the beginning of videos so that way people understand. So also, if you hear anything strange in the background, understand that there are 2 6-month-old mutt puppies that are my world, and then a 10-year-old Chihuahua. My dogs are my life. They are my babies. I also have children in the background somewhere. Well, they're teenagers, so I don't know if they count. So, I have done this professionally for many years. Now, I am no longer doing a lot of this like in the professional sense of making and selling items. We closed our retail store. Between my personal health and other family members' health, I personally couldn't do it anymore. So at this point, I'm just doing tutorials, testing equipment on a much smaller scale. But I've done this for a very long time. Now, I may not look my age. Thank you to Botox and, Clairol. Maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's botulism, I am very honest, if you haven't noticed. But many years ago, around 15, Cameron, my youngest, I don't even think he was born yet, we went to a trade show. And we were wowed by photo promotional products using a process called dye sublimation. We were told that customers would line up at our doors. Let me tell you, they did not. Products would be very unique. They were, but with limited suppliers, they were very expensive. There was also a big thing that we were not told about our roughly $10,000 Epson printer, that it was converted to use sublimation inks. Now, the inks were Sawgrass brand, which is a brand that I still love and trust to this day. My sublimation printer that I have now is Sawgrass brand, just so you know. So I trust Sawgrass. But since it was a converted printer, it was no longer under warranty. So in our small town, when people didn't want to spend $30 a piece on a mug to promote their insurance company, we looked into converting our printer back to a photo printer because we could promote that to some of the local photographers. We found out that we couldn't convert it back. The only way that that could be done was to pretty much change out all of the internal parts, such as the heads, the tubes, all of that. Well, when that was all said and done, it was going to cost as much as buying a new printer. So our $10,000 investment became a glorified paperweight. So this is why I won't do it again. Now, I realize that a lot of investments that people are making today aren't $10,000. But a lot of the new dye sublimation machines that are made by Sawgrass, Epson, because a lot of the printers that people are converting now are Epson, and Epson does make their own dye sublimation machine, Ricoh, and so many more aren't that much more. So, let's talk about some of the reasons that I know for sure. And this is what is important to me. Now, again, these things may not be important to you. And in my perspective and in my thought, time is money. And certain things matter to me. And again, they may not matter to you. And I am in certain sublimation groups on Facebook. And when I was doing my research for my TikTok video, I noticed a trend where I was seeing a lot of the same comments, which is another reason why this video came up. So I wanted to make sure that a lot of this information was out there. So again, this is not me dogging people who convert printers. I want to make sure that is perfectly clear. So, number one is ease of use. It doesn't matter if it's an Epson, because yes, Epson makes their own sublimation. Sawgrass, which again, that is my favorite. Ricoh, etc. I don't have to wonder why my pinks look orange or my blues are turning yellow. It just does what it's supposed to. I can literally take a photograph from my phone, go to Sawgrass Print Manager on my computer, send it to print, and choose one of my sublimation blanks from Condi or from Heat Transfer Warehouse or from Heat Press Nation or some of my sublimation vinyl from Specialty Materials, and I am going to get the same quality each and every time. Now, I cannot say the same for every sublimation blank from Amazon, because they're not all created equal, because you are not guaranteed the same quality from Amazon. As much as I love Amazon, and anybody in the comments can probably attest to the same thing, it is what it is, just to be honest. Now, number two, tech support. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube can only get you so far. But a trained Epson expert can fix your issue with your printer, can't fix your issue with printer jack inks. Now, I'm saying in printer jack inks, I don't know anything about them. I see in the sublimation groups, they're a popular brand, Hippo, that type of thing. Again, I don't know a whole lot about them because, as I said, I'm not going to convert to them. I don't know their quality control things, but I do know that they come in bottles. I don't know who mixes them, how they're mixed, that type of thing. But I have seen where people have like bought Hippo inks, and some of them are regular ink And some of them are sublimation inks, and they can be a little confusing. And some have bought regular inks, and then they were supposed to be sublimation. And again, once you put regular inks, you can't use that as a sublimation printer. And if you put the wrong inks in there and you call Epson, you can't exchange that printer. If you don't use genuine Epson inks, guess what? It's not under warranty. They're not going to troubleshoot it for you. It's done. So you don't have any recourse for it. There's no tech support. I like tech support. I'm married to my tech support. You know, that's what my husband does for a living. And that's why I know a little bit about it. Again, to me, that is very important. I love Apple products. My husband doesn't do Apple tech support stuff. Do you know what I do? I pay for Apple Care because I need to know how to fix things because I don't know enough to fix them. And I don't want to know enough to fix them. If he can't fix them, I want to be able to call someone and be like, hey, fix this for me. Warranty and tech support are extremely important to me. And again, it may not be important to everybody. Speaking of warranty, number 3 is warranty. If anything ever goes wrong with the converted printer, and what I mean by anything, and I'm not talking about like the heads or anything like that. I'm talking about things that don't have anything to do with the ink. So say the motherboard goes out, which has nothing to do with the inks that you have in it, and you call Epson and you need to send that into them, and they see that it has converted inks, it's not covered. You will be responsible for all the cost. It voids your warranty. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's kind of like whenever you do aftermarket accessories on a car. Now, I know for some vehicles like Jeeps and things like that, you know, there are some exceptions to the rules. But for printers, at this point, there's not. And if you don't believe me, you can sit there and call like Epson tech support and see what happens if you're like, hey, I need a replacement. And you're like, hey, I have these kind of inks in it. Because you can see what happens. Now, there's also other issues with it. Number 4 is printer companies can change the firmware in your printer after the fact. So I have an Epson printer that's sitting over here. It's a Workforce Pro WF4740. It's just my regular inkjet printer. It's got a scanner in it. It's what I send, like my copies, like any documents that it's just like my regular desktop printer. Anyways, so it's connected, like I just send documents to it. So recently it had a firmware update. Now, typically what I do with it, because inks for it are expensive, I just buy, what are the cartridges? It's like Easy Ink off of Amazon. They're cheap. The Epson inks for it are like $106 for the set of 4 cartridges from Best Buy, Amazon, you know, everywhere. And the Easy Inks are like $40 for the full set. Well, anyway, they just did a firmware update. So the set of Easy Inks that I had in it no longer work. And guess what I had to go do? I had to go buy genuine Epson ink. So my husband tried to take the chips off of old Epson ink and put it onto the Easy Ink. Didn't work. And people are like, well, you can buy a chip resetter to make it work. And we're like, that is a whole lot of work for that. So yeah, that can happen with your printer. Last but certainly not least is I know what I'm getting every single time I order ink. So with Sawgrass, and this is the same thing along the lines with Epson or with Ricoh or any other brand that makes their printer and makes their ink. So whether it be the Sawgrass SG400, the SG500, the SG800, the SG1000, or any of the bigger models or any of the Epsons, that the ink across the entire Sawgrass line is going to be the same. So I know that the quality is going to be the same. Same thing with Epson, same thing with Ricoh. So the quality is the same. So if I go from a different printer model to a newer model, that I am going to keep the same quality, which definitely makes it easier in the long run. I also know that software is definitely important to me. Like for Sawgrass, their print manager, it makes it very easy. Like with it, when I send something to print, it has what paper I'm using, what substrate it's going on. So it knows how much ink to lay down. I don't have to sit there and finagle, well, this is what I need to do. This is what it's going to look like. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to sit there and mess around with color profiles. Like if I'm designing something in Corel Draw, or even if I wanted to do something in Paint, or any other art program, Adobe Illustrator, what I'm seeing, other than if, your screen's off, is what I'm getting. It's that simple, which to me is worth the higher cost. But again, it's up to each person to decide. And I just want to make sure that, information's out there. And I am very passionate about my thoughts, and I'm sure people who have converted printers, that there are people out there that are extremely passionate about theirs. And part of the thing is I started doing research because I was like, well, maybe I'll convert a printer. They're not that expensive and all this other kind of stuff. And I started seeing issues with it, and I was like, people are like, well, why is my pink printing lavender, and why is this and why is that? And I'm like, it's just not worth it to me, because you're looking at these printers and it's $600-700, and that's quite a bit of money. Again, for it to me, it's like, well, if it doesn't work and I'm spending all this time and energy, I ain't got time for that. So, again, this is my opinion. These are my thoughts. It doesn't have to match yours. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you do, give this video a big thumbs up. If you have differing opinions, let me know down below. But I guess that's it. I love you guys. I have links down below if you are interested in looking at some of these printers. I have Heat Press Nation and Condi, which is dietrans.com, which are some great vendors that you can purchase these printers at. Now, they are both affiliate links, so if you do purchase from them, I do earn a small commission. I do like to always put that information out there. But again, this isn't me pushing you to purchase them. I mean, I own it. I purchased the Sawgrass myself. I purchased it from a show years ago. I've had that Sawgrass. I think I purchased it in 2018. And she's still going. I mean, and let me tell you, and so before we end this video, my Sawgrass has told me it's had low inks, I don't know, for a month, and I'm still printing. She's still going. She's just a trucker. She just keeps on. Like, she's like the Duracell battery. She keeps it going and going and going. I love her. She's amazing. I love that thing. Like, she's my favorite thing in the whole world, and I'm fixing to upgrade her to something bigger because she's so good. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, she's worth every penny to me. And I mean, like, and again, I paid for her out of my pocket. I love her dearly. I mean, and again, I will say that with every fiber of my being. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. I guess that's it, and we will see you later. Bye.